What's up everybody, Noah from Stage 3 Motorsports here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install these rigid 360 fog lights in your Toyota Tacoma. Now, before we get started, quick note here, this kit does technically work on the Tacoma, the 4Runner, and the Tundra. We're going to be focusing specifically on the Tacoma here, obviously, but if you are doing it on a 4Runner and a Tundra, a lot of the steps are going to be very similar, so you still may be able to glean some information from this video if you need. The other thing to note is, obviously, we're doing the selective yellow fog lights just because I prefer that color and I like having a little bit less reflective light when I'm running fogs. But there is a white version of this kit as well, and depending which one you go with, the actual light itself is the exact same dimensions, the brackets are the same, so that install won't change even if you got a kit that looks different from ours. So with all that out of the way, let's get into it. To get our inner fender liner pulled out of the way so we can get to the fog light housing, we've got a couple clips and screws we need to remove. So we'll start with this one on the edge of the fender right here. There we go. Next, we're gonna grab this clip that's back in towards the motor, and you'll just wanna kind of pop the center section out, and then once you get that pulled forward, come behind it and pop out the rest of the clip. Underneath your bumper here at the front where that liner comes in, you'll typically have two screws that are 10mm that are attaching it. You can see the position of ours is gonna look a little different than your truck because our fender liners and our bumper were modified slightly to get a bit more tire clearance, but we're gonna remove that screw and we'll remove the zip tie we have in there as well, and then that's gonna allow us to pull this liner all the way out. Now we're going to pull this fender liner back and out of the way just so we can get in behind it. Inside your bumper, you can see the back of the fog light housing up here, and our bulb's going to look a little different than a factory bulb will just because this is an LED upgrade. But the idea is that you want to get to the end of the harness there, and we're just going to disconnect this bulb from that harness. And normally you'd probably disconnect it up closer to the light because usually they plug in up here. But with that out of the way, there's a single screw up here that's holding this whole housing into place. So we're gonna remove this screw with a little 10mm, and sometimes they'll have cuts in them for a Phillips head screwdriver as well if you want to use that. Once you've got that screw out, you're just going to tilt the light like this and slide the tabs out from the other side, and then we can pull the whole housing out. Now before we get our new rigid 360 in here, we've got a little bit of assembly to do for the brackets. So you're going to want to make sure you have it positioned with this bezel on the front with your letters the right side up so it looks proper on the front of the truck, and then this is going to be our driver's side. Now coming around to the back, you'll see some threaded holes here, and those are going to line up with these plastic clips. So we're going to pop these into place. Just like that. There we go. Then we're going to take these little Allen head screws and we're just going to thread these in for all four corners there. With all the screws in, we're going to take this little white insert and pop it into place. Here we go. Once again, you just want to pay attention to where that position would be in relation to what side it is on your truck. Now, with that on there, we've got this big plastic bracket that's going to go around it. So we're just going to run the wiring harness through that and pop this into place. There we go. And it should click in down here over those little plastic tabs, and it'll have a little bit of rotational movement. And you can see the hole here is lined up with where that little plastic insert is. So now we have this adjuster screw that needs to go through, and this just allows you to turn it to adjust the angle of the light for where you want your beam set. The last thing we need to take care of with this light is just getting the wiring put together. And you're gonna have a pin for both your power and your ground wire that clip on here. And then Rigid also provides a plastic connector to go over it. And this allows you to just plug directly into your factory fog light wiring instead of having to splice or cut and, you know, solder and tap stuff in. So when you do this, just make sure that as you're pushing the pins into the plastic connector, you have them oriented properly. So you're gonna have your ground and your power with the ground and the power on the truck. And there's actually a tab here within the plastic connector that you can kind of see that dictates the top and the bottom of it. So when you put that together, just be mindful of that so it does line up properly. I'm gonna attach this right now and then we can bring the light over to the truck. Now that we've got our rigid light all assembled, it's basically gonna go in the same way the factory one came out. So we're just gonna position these two tabs, slide them into place, and you'll see that hole lines up right where it would from factory. And we're gonna reuse this same screw that we pulled out as well. Now you can see we've got our connector together here, so we're just gonna plug this into the factory wiring harness, make sure that clicks, and you'll probably have quite a bit of wire slack here. Some people just leave it, but you can also tie this up with zip ties, which is probably what we're gonna do, just so it isn't flopping around in here. So we've got our light all tied up in here, wiring's plugged in, and now is a really good time to just flick on your fog lights and test to make sure that it actually turns on and works. I tested ours, everything's good, so our wiring's straight. So all we have to do now is put this fender liner back into place the same way we took it out, and that will be a wrap on it. All right, guys, that's gonna be a wrap on our rigid fog light install in the Tacoma here. I think everything came together pretty nicely. It's not a very difficult kit to put in, definitely something you can knock out in your driveway with just some hand tools. So if you are looking to do a fog light upgrade, this is definitely one to consider. Now, I will say that we are also gonna be working on a review down the road once we've had some miles on these and been able to run them a bit and actually test them at night. So you can keep an eye out for that video when it comes. And I think that's about all there is to say for these fogs. If you want to pick up a set for yourself, you can head down in the description below. We'll have some links there that are going to shoot you over to our website. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.